Hello, future author. How long have you wanted to write your book? Maybe a year, maybe 2 years, maybe three, maybe four, maybe 5, 10, 15, maybe even 25, like one of my recent clients. How long has this dream of writing a book been on your heart? Well, in this series of videos, you are going to learn simple tips and techniques that are going to help you get out of dreamland and make your book a reality. Now, I'm Zarinah El-Amin, author and publisher. So to publish successfully in today's market, you need to do a few things. You need to get your information out of your head and down onto paper. You need to fine tune and polish that manuscript so that it's in a readable format that someone else would actually want to read. Then you need to attract an audience and make sales. So it sounds simple, right? And it is. Really, publishing is not rocket science, but there are specific details that you need to follow, and you want to do them in a certain way so that you don't waste time or money publishing your book. Now, the first thing, though, is not necessarily the how-to of publishing. We're going to come to that in future videos, so you're going to be fine in learning how to publish. That's fine. But what I need for you to get at is the why. And the why that feels good for you. Because this author mindset, building up your inner author armor, is the first thing that you can do to make sure that you're going to be successful in publishing your book. Now, what do I mean about building up your inner author armor? And how do you go about doing that? Well, a lot of people come to me and they say, hey Z, I really want to publish my book. I've been thinking about it for a really long time, but I don't know how to reach my market. I'm too shy to kind of go out there and market. Or I'm not an expert. I don't have a PhD in this topic, so who's going to really listen to me? Or I'm not a big name. I don't have a huge following. I'm not Steve Harvey, but I want to write a book about relationships. Who's going to listen to me because I don't have a really big name? Or maybe I don't have deep pockets. I'm kind of semi-broke and I don't really have a lot of money to publish my book. I've heard basically every excuse, because I call them excuses really. I've heard basically every excuse in the book. And the reason that I'm a little bit harsh on folks when they come to me is because if you truly decide that you want to do something, the universe will go with your whim. The universe will support you in achieving the goals that you set out to do. So what's the first thing that you need to do? The first thing that you have to do is decide. You have to decide that you are going to publish this book. So what I mean is that get it into your mind that I can publish this book. I am going to hold my book in my hand within the next 6 to 12 months. You are going to hold your book in your hands, yes, within the next 6 to 12 months. So we're not going to live in dreamland forever, right? We're coming down into reality. All right. Now, we're not going to push those little fears and those things aside that easily, though, because some of them may be some things that we need to work through. And I want for you all to be able to work through those so that we can get to the exercise and get to the reality, the dream, rather, of actually having our book. So if you can, right now, I want you to take a piece of paper, grab a piece of paper, and I want you to think. I want you to dream and I want you to explore. So first, we're going to imagine that 6 months from now, you are holding your book. Maybe you're doing some book signings at Barnes & Noble. Maybe you're Googling, going to Amazon, and you're seeing your book pop up. Maybe people are now sending you emails about how your book really touched them and helped them do whatever they wanted to do in their life. So I want you to imagine and sit in that space for a moment. What does it feel like for you? Feel that success. Feel that sense of accomplishment that you set out to create this book and you actually did it. And now it's making a difference in someone else's life. I want you to feel that for you. If you can right now, go ahead and write down how that feels for you. Put it into words. So pause the video and put it into words. Now, the second thing that I would like for you all to do is to go back to those fears. What are some things that could be holding you back, maybe sabotaging your efforts to actually get this book done? I want you to bring up those fears because you need to address them. We don't say that fears don't exist. However, we move through our fear to where we're going to get. So take out a piece of paper or on the same sheet of paper and write down anything anything that comes to mind for you that has been either holding you back or stopping you from publishing this book. Maybe for some of you it's finances. Maybe for some of you it's more inner stuff. I don't have a PhD. I don't know what people are going to think about me. I don't want to deal with the response that may come from publishing the book. So whatever the fears are that you have, maybe I'm not really even an author. I don't really know how to write. Now, editors help you with that part, so don't worry about that. Your job is just to get it out of your head and down onto paper. Trust me with that. But maybe that's a fear for you. So whatever the fears are for you, I want you to write those down on a piece of paper now. Okay, so you've written down all of your fears, right? But you've also written down how awesome it's going to feel to when you actually publish this book. So you have the feeling of awesomeness on one side, and then you have these fears on the other side. So what I want you to do with the fear paper, the paper that you had and you wrote your fears, if it's on the same sheet of paper, separate them. Separate the dream from that fear stuff. And I want you to ball up those fears, and I want you to throw it away. I'm serious. I want you to ball up the fears, and I want you to throw it away. Now, the reason that we're doing that is because I want your whole body in this process of publishing this book. Because this is the thing. There's 80% of the American population alone. 80% of the American population alone say that they want to publish a book. There's what, like over 300 million people in this country, so that's 80, that's like over 240 million people that want to publish a book. 240 million people. That's a lot of people that say they want to do this thing that you want to do. So you're in a huge number. So what is it that's going to make you different from that large 240 million people group? How are you going to set yourself apart and go from actually dreaming about creating this book to actually holding your book in hand? And you have to have the mindset. And that's why this video is focusing on helping you create your author mindset, to build up your inner author armor. That's what I call it, your inner author armor, so that you can plow through any fears, plow through any challenges that may come in your way, and you will be able to achieve this goal of having your book so that you can reap the benefits. Now, what are some of the benefits? Because some of you are saying, like, she's talking a lot about challenges and I don't want to deal with that. Like, I want to know what's the good stuff, So what are some of the benefits of publishing a book? Now, there are several things that you are going to achieve from publishing your book. One is that you can set yourself as an expert in your particular field. So having a book on your topic that you're writing about is something that's going to tell and signal to other people that, hey, I know what I'm talking about in this area. So you're going to be labeled as an expert on this topic that you write about. Another reason is that you will be able to leave a legacy for your future generations. Imagine writing a memoir or even a simple little book about your life story in your own words, so that your great, 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 great grandchildren can learn about you from you, not from anyone else. How powerful is that? I would have loved to have learned about my great, great, great grands from something that they wrote. So you have that power now to write down your story for your future generations. Now, another thing that you can gain from publishing your book is being able to escape maybe a career or a job that you really don't like. So let's say that you're working in a particular area that you just hate. You're getting up every day, you're going to this job that you don't really like, is really draining all the energy, is draining all the love out of you, and you don't like it. You want to move into something else. So one way that you can quickly establish yourself in that new area is to write a book on that subject. Because when you write that book on that subject, it's going to signal that, hey, this is someone that knows what they're talking about. You will also be able to attract media, because media love authors. You think about it. Every time you look on the news, somebody is saying, I'm the author of such and such and such and such. So media love authors. So you writing this book is going to allow you to create a new life for yourself. It may not come instantly like that. A lot of people sell these pipe dreams like, 2 weeks and you'll have the whole new life. I say it takes a few months or so. You can really create your whole new life in a few months if you go about the steps that you need to do in a particular order. You can do that, but it takes some inner gumption, right? It takes some feeling that you need to put into it. So that's maybe another goal for you, is to get out of that rat race of the 9 to 5 job that you hate and really create a life that you love. Now, let me tell you a little bit about myself, how I came to publishing, because my story is maybe like yours. I really kind of happened into publishing. I was doing my master's thesis in anthropology. And if you all know about academia, you create your final thesis around a subject that is related to your particular field. So I was doing anthropology. Anthropology is the study of humankind. That's something that I love to get to know more about. I want to know about the similarities between humans as well as deeper cultures. That's my thing, right? So I was doing a study about single Muslims. I wanted to know why it was that there were so many Muslims in America that were single and were struggling to find a spouse. So I conducted studies for about 18 months or so, really. I was reading every book about singlehood from not only the Muslim community, but the Christian community all over. I was reading about marriage. I was reading about ways that parents rear their children into right and wrong. So I was reading about all these things, and I also began to conduct interviews with folks all around the country about what it means for them when they're single. How do they react to that? What are some of their struggles? What were some of their challenges? Things that I thought would be useful for this thesis. So I did that for about 18 months, combined all of that into my thesis. I worked back and forth with my professors, piled it all up, compiled it all up, and then I got it approved and I graduated. So yay, right? So if you know anything about academia, you know that when you finish and you have that master's thesis in hand, normally the only people that read it are your professors, maybe some of the other students, and maybe your mama if you're lucky. If you're lucky, because she may think it's boring. So if you're lucky, maybe your mama will read it. My mom read mine, but maybe your mom will read it. So usually the theses just end up on the university library system collecting dust. Well, I didn't want that for mine. I'm like, hey, I put my heart and soul into this book. I put a lot of effort. Also, people were asking me for the information. They were calling me saying, hey, Z, I know you were doing that study. Well, what did you find? Because I'm still struggling, girl. People were emailing me, asking me about the results. So I felt that I had a responsibility. People had trusted me. They gave me their time. They allowed me to interview them. And I felt like they should be able to receive the information. Now, I could have just took my thesis to Kinko's and bound it up and passed it out. Hey, here you go. I could have done it that way. But being a perfectionist that I am, I realized that probably wasn't going to be the most attractive thing for many people. That wasn't going to really give it even the credence that I wanted to give it. I had put a lot of effort into that, and I'm sure that you too have been thinking a lot about your topic and your book, and you're going to be putting effort into it. So you want it to be presented in the best way possible. So I decided to publish my book. Now, I thought about traditional publishing, and then I started looking up self-publishing or indie publishing. And for me, traditional publishing wasn't the route that I wanted to go. One, I already had my message clear and set in my thesis that I wanted to present. I didn't want anyone changing my message. I didn't want anyone changing my tone or telling me I couldn't put this part in there or add this other stuff to make it more appealing for their pocketbook. I wanted full creative control over my product that I was going to be putting out. Also, I wanted to be able to put my book out in a specific amount of time. There was a big conference that was coming up that I knew people wanted to know about my subject. So I wanted to be able to publish my book in a particular amount of time so I could reach that conference. If I had decided to go down the traditional publishing route, it would have been at least 18 to maybe 2 years or so at the least, probably, that I would have been able to get my book out there. I didn't have that time. I wasn't wasting time. I wanted to be able to do it in my own time. So self-publishing was the route for me. And like many of you all, I'm sure you have a lot of questions. I knew absolutely nothing about publishing. I didn't know about ISBNs. I did not know about Baker and Taylor, distributors. I didn't know about editors, how to find the right editor. I didn't know about graphic design. I didn't know that there was a difference